It's 2 o'clock, so we'll just allow another moment or so for a few more individuals to join us. I can see lots of names popping into the attendee list, which is great. So thank you for joining us so promptly. Okay, well, we'll make a start. So hello and welcome, and thank you all for taking the time today to join our webinar. My name's Adam Ladd, and I'm Director of Account Management here at NoBlue2. And in today's session, we're going to be talking about NoBlue2's NetSuite native accounts receivable automation tool called TaskCollect. In today's 30-minute session, it's going to be particularly interesting for those of you that are already customers of ours using TaskCollect, in which you're going to learn about some of the product enhancements that Ian and his team have been hard at work at over the past few months. But also, this session is going to be of particular interest for those of you that are struggling with cash collection in your organizations and your finance departments and are looking at ways perhaps to reduce debtor days in your organization and get cash quicker into your organization as well. So I'm pleased to be joined by our Chief Solution Officer and co-founder, Ian Owen. Ian, welcome.
Thank you, Adam. Welcome, everybody, and thank you for joining us.
So Ian's going to be taking you through today's session overall. And in terms of questions, please do feel free to ask as you go. We've got the Q&A function within the Teams meeting, and we've reserved some time at the end to address the questions that get posed. So I'll be keeping an eye on that as we go. And we've reserved some time, as I say, to address them at the end. So Ian, I think without further ado, shall we make a start?
Let's do it.
Wonderful.
Great stuff. So today's agenda, we're going to be looking at some of the key problems that TaskCollect solves. We're going to be looking at our 5 core capabilities, and we've got a bit of a mixed audience. So we've got a lot of companies joining us who already have TaskCollect and are interested to hear about some of our new capabilities, and equally some folks who have not yet joined us in the TaskCollect family. So there's some bit of background information in there, some more broadly what our capabilities are. So key problems that finance teams experience, obviously late cash arrivals, a lot of burden in terms of manual workload in chasing and processing collections, but also thinking about risks that surface around that and understanding financial health of customers and dealing with that appropriately. And also maybe some inconsistent communications. Manual processes inherently can be somewhat ad hoc and lead to behaviours from customers accordingly. Our TaskCollect solution is designed specifically to meet the needs of finance teams, thinking across all of those points. It's a product that's now been available for a little over 18 months and been very well adopted by quite a few companies thus far. We are native to NetSuite, so and we believe that's very important. One source of truth is your NetSuite instance, but it also helps us in terms of rapidity to deploy, security and compliance. TaskCollect is completely bound by the rules and roles and permissions per your NetSuite users as it stands. And of course, we are always keeping pace with NetSuite's own release cycles in terms of the capability and compatibility of the product. And of course, no expensive integrations to maintain. 3 massive value propositions that TaskCollect delivers to you. Firstly, reduction in days sales outstanding, or days beyond terms, however you like to think about it in your organization. Our objective is to accelerate cash receipt into your organizations. Reducing human efforts. And this is an area where we take great pride, and we look very diligently at the ways we can leverage automation to minimize the amount of effort that's required by members of the finance team in processing transactions into NetSuite. And of course, reduction of risk. We look for insights, we look and monitor for notifications and triggers that may give rise to concern with respect to the financial health of our individual customers within the customer base. We do that from 5 core capabilities. So TaskCollect as a product, we would position as having 5 core capabilities, those being e-invoicing, credit risk management, automation of collections, management of disputes, and automations of cash applications. For the purposes of today, we've got some new functionalities in the credit risk management and cash application automation areas where we're going to take a little bit more time to dig into what those capabilities are. So first and foremost, e-invoicing. TaskCollect supports a global e-invoicing. We are ready from a delivery of invoices point of view for compliance around most geographies in Europe where it's currently mandatory. So that currently there are 12 countries where e-invoicing is mandatory from a governmental compliance point of view, 10 where it's due to be mandatory over the coming couple of years, and many more where the capability is available and the guidance in the local countries is to start using it as soon as is practicable. So we provide a PEPL access point. We provide direct communication in those countries with the compliance that they may have imposed. We'll move into talking about credit risk management. So a key area, we obviously are exposing ourselves to risk whenever we are extending credit to customers. We are by de facto a credit provider to them. It's only right and proper, therefore, that we have our eyes wide open when establishing what are those trading terms and also monitoring the financial health of those organizations. We've built this capability into TaskCollect so that TaskCollect can take that burden from you, automatically provide that information to your users, and to monitor in real time on a daily basis any changes to the health of your customers. We'll have a quick look at how that manifests in TaskCollect, so a bit of a walkthrough of some of the capabilities here. And so what you should be seeing now is a NetSuite demo account. And just to give you a quick example, here is a customer record. We can see that this customer record is connected into a credit agency called CreditSafe, where we have harvested from CreditSafe the current metrics relating to the health of that company. So we can see their credit score, suggested credit limits, so on and so forth. Equally, we can also attain credit reports for those organizations. And so what we're seeing here is a full credit report for that company, which provides the full breakdown of financial health and any notable conditions, any mortgaging information, full financials in terms of P&L, balance sheet, and cash flow as submit to Companies House as part of their stat returns, along with group structures, so on and so forth. So a full capability to get credit report information baked into NetSuite. Additionally, the data on which it's produced, we are also monitoring the financial health of those organizations through that credit agency provider. And what we're seeing here on our dashboard, which is one of the methodologies by which we can keep our eye on things, is such notifications coming through and showing us in real time if there's anything we should be aware of. Since our last update that we performed on TaskCollect, sorry, we have introduced an integration with a second credit agency. We now offer all the same functionality that we do with CreditSafe through Dun & Bradstreet also. And the credit capabilities and the financial monitoring extends throughout the entire suite of capability within TaskCollect. So here's another example where we're exposing to the users what is the financial condition of that organization and forming an opinion systemically through our AI model as to how significant a risk or not that company might represent to our cash flow. Moving through quite swiftly, collections automation is obviously a very key area of functionality that we're providing in TaskCollect. It's a huge area where automation can really bring a lot of value to every company in terms of chasing customers for payments. We leverage AI throughout, and we're really putting TaskCollect into the driving seat. So collections become systemically led, and TaskCollect will ask the finance team members for assistance where it wants it. To give you a quick walkthrough of some of these capabilities, we'll jump back into NetSuite. And to give you an idea, here's an example of a collection procedure which is automatically assigned to the customer when the customer is either onboarded or when you implement TaskCollect, which describes a sequence that we're going to follow in order to chase the customer for payment whilst ever they remain due with us. And what we're seeing here is a number of steps which are automated. We can see that we're going to be sending emails to the customer with various attachments to meet our expectations. And after a couple of automated actions that we're taking, we're then actually going to ask the user to get involved. So whomever is, as an individual or as a team, is assigned to look after that customer from a collection point of view, we're going to ask them to give the customer a call. Our collection procedures are designed to be super flexible. They can be completely automated, completely manual, or as we can see here, some combination thereof that we can prove over time is the most effective path of enacting collections for your customers. We can see here the collection procedure assigned to the customer, and we can see that we are mid-cycle with this customer. We're currently partway through chasing them. They've had a couple of reminders already. Very clear and visual where we are at in the process. And that clarity and visualization is consistent throughout. So equally, if we jump into our customer workbench, we can see a similar indicator that's showing us where we are. Or if we're being directed to perform one of the manual tasks as part of that collection procedure, in our task workbench, again, very clear, we can see that the automated communications have been sent and that we are presently being asked to undertake this manual action. We'll talk a little bit about dispute management. It's an area where there's been some further developments in most recent releases. We bring, as part of TaskCollect, full dispute management capabilities, but importantly, it's dispute management that is fully interoperable with the collections process. And so what I mean by that is, if we have configured our collection procedure just so, it will understand when invoices have been disputed, and it will behave according to your wishes. So if, for example, a certain type of dispute, we would perhaps pause chasing, TaskCollect completely understands that and would do so. Or maybe a dispute is so severe, we just completely pause all chasing with that customer. So we have complete configurability in terms of whether disputes allow collections to continue, whether we pause for given invoices or pause for the entire customer. We've got a little walkthrough of some of that new functionality. So if we drill in, we'll have a look at what we've always had. So we've obviously always had the ability to analyze disputes from a reminders point of view, from an email alerting point of view, and management point of view. But in our most recent release, we have now introduced a dispute workbench where, as a user, I can clearly see the disputes that are assigned to me to resolve. I've got a very clear overview of the customer and their current health. I can see what the entire exposure across my disputes is that I need to resolve to the company. I can drill through and understand the specifics of each individual dispute that I'm tasked with resolving. I can clearly see what the issues are. I can see what status we're at, and I can see what type of categorization we've given to the dispute, which will ultimately determine how we handle the collections process around the associated invoices. From within the dispute dashboard, I can manage everything with respect to this individual dispute. I can take unlimited notes. I can communicate with the customer and have everything recorded in a single place. And finally, obviously at the bottom, I can see which invoices this particular dispute is relating to. So a nice addition to the selection of workbenches we bring in TaskCollect is the dispute dashboard. The final area of new capabilities to talk about is our cash application automation. So this is quite possibly the biggest single piece of functionality we've brought into TaskCollect since it was first released. And what we're doing here is we are providing yet another method of automation of processes, which typically are very time consuming within the finance team. So cash application automation starts with the receipt of remittance advices. We are automating the processing of remittance advices into TaskCollect. And out of the back of that, we are automating the creation of standard NetSuite customer payment transactions that are correctly and accurately applied to the correct invoices as advised by the customer. The process would follow thus, whereby a customer sends in the remittance advice that is received automatically by NetSuite into TaskCollect, where our AI model scans the PDF, turns that into a remittance inside of TaskCollect, monitors the bank feeds for the payment arriving into the bank, and uses that as the trigger to finalize the creation of the customer payments into NetSuite, thereby removing any requirements for the users to either have to process either remittance advices or the creation of the customer payments itself. We'll have a look into how that manifests in NetSuite. So once again, move over. What we, in the first instance, have on our dashboard is a status indicator that's showing us what remittance advices and payments have been processed through TaskCollect so far this month. And we can see that we've had and some that have flowed through and are seeking our inputs for assistance. We've been using this functionality in our own NetSuite account for a little while now, and hand on heart, at this point, it is still achieving 100% success rate in turning all of the remittance advices we have received from our own customers into automated cash applications. We have the benefit, of course, that you're all using NetSuite, and you've hopefully have all got nice, beautiful remittance advice documents that you're sending us. This does allow me to drill through and see our remittance workbench, which will show me the inbound remittances that require my assistance. But we also have an audit screen, which perhaps brings it to life a little bit better for the purposes of illustration. So what we have here, we have our remittance audit screen open, and it's filtered to show only the complete end-to-end process remittances at the moment. I can hover over each of the stages that it goes through, and I can see the email and the PDF that was originally sent into NetSuite. And by sending into NetSuite, we're probably talking about a remittances at your company type email address, where your email system automatically forwards that onto your NetSuite account, or you can forward it on in the event that your customers send it to any other email address or personal mailboxes. We can see that we have run it through our model. We've used that to turn into data that we've quite happily matched in the system. So we've matched who is the customer. We've matched quite diligently what are the invoices. And owing to the way we've trained the AI model, it understands completely all the different nuances of how invoice numbers or purchase order numbers, or the lack thereof potentially, might manifest in the remittance documents that you receive. Any missed leading zeros, any mistyped zeros for O's, any missing prefixes or suffixes, it all handles. And whether that be on your invoice basis, your customer's PO basis, or other matching methodologies, that the AI engine is pretty darn robust. Once we're happy the data's matched, it creates a standard TaskCollect promise to pay record, so you have visibility of it. It's starting to form part of your cash flow information that's presented through TaskCollect Analytics. From where we then monitor your bank. As soon as we see those transactions in your bank, which we can reference by your customer's payment reference number, that we can reference by the customer name, fuzzy logic around that, so on and so forth, we then automatically create the customer payment, an example of which would be this. So admittedly, that allows us to see end-to-end that the process is working well, but some fantastic capability that has the potential to really save huge amounts of time. This engine that is scanning the remittance documents, we have tested it with some quite large. We're fortunate enough to have customers who get remittance emails with sort of 80, 90 pages long, with 1,000 or 2 invoices being applied with a single payment, and so far we've proved robust and capable of processing even at that sort of scale. In the instance of where something's gone a little bit awry and the information isn't eminently obvious, we would also see that on here. We come through on the remittance workbench, and we can see that the system needs our help. It's looking for us to give it some more information. In that instance, we give you a side-by-side of here was the document sent in by the customer. We can see we've successfully mapped the customer, but in this instance, they've sent us an invoice reference and an amount that we just do not recognize. The invoice is associated with the customer, and the payment and the amount remaining of those invoices just do not correlate. And whilst we have parameters that we configure to say what we are willing to accept in terms of are we willing to automatically process amounts which don't cover the full invoice? Are we willing to process amounts that go over and perhaps leave partial unapplied payments? In this instance, it's a full stop, and it's seeking your inputs. If we can successfully match this through, we just save it down, and the process just continues from there on our behalf. One final thing just to look, seeing as though we're here, we have also introduced a new analytics engine, which we're seeing here, which of course carries through all of the information now, including the remittance information that we've just spoken about. Okay, so in summary, TaskCollect is giving us a complete end-to-end solution from invoice being issued via e-invoicing methodologies, risk assessments, all the way through to cash being applied. We've very much broadened the capabilities of TaskCollect to run across that entire value chain, so with collections or orders cash processes. Importantly, it is purpose-built for NetSuite, built inside of NetSuite, fully cognizant of leveraging the suite capabilities. There's no impact to whether invoices are generated in NetSuite manually by users, from suite billing, from sales orders, or from third-party solutions such as zone billing. TaskCollect, living inside of NetSuite, works perfectly with all of those sorts of scenarios. And quite happily is generating real-world results for our customers. A couple of examples of which is here. The FOSS in the month following which they went live reported to us that they saw an immediate uptick whereby 7% more of their customers paid them early, so before invoices were due, as a direct result of chasing through TaskCollect. Additionally, Cambrian Packaging, one of our other customers, and very kindly, both companies have given us a nice case study on the website, which you can see QR codes if you wish to go and review those. Reported in the first month after having gone live fully across their customer base with TaskCollect, yielded for them the highest ever cash collection month ever, which was a 20% improvement on what typically they were seeing. And we'll rather swiftly at that point flip over to any questions.
Thank you, Ian. Yes, we've had a few come in throughout the course of the session. So one question is around the AI remittances. So the question being, do AI remittances work if the remittance is simply an email with body text confirming what has been paid? Can it read .doc or other types of documents, not just PDF?
Yeah, great question. Thank you for that. So at this moment in time, as the product stands, it is explicitly looking for a PDF remittance document. That is purely due to the fact that 99.99% of remittance advices sent to any one company are generally PDF. What will come into the product very, very soon is the ability to also do body of emails, also do CSV or Excel attachments. We're probably unlikely to do Word documents. I have seen some example of Word document remittance advices provided from some kind folks who provided a whole bunch of examples to us. In those instances, in our experience, the Word documents aren't actually Word documents. They are Word documents with an embedded screenshot, and that's just such an odd circumstance. It doesn't feel like something that is probably high enough on the agenda to include.
Thank you, Ian. Another question that's come in here is, we're currently using NetSuite's Dunning module. Where is the benefit for TaskCollect over Dunning?
Yeah, so great question. Thank you for that one as well. NetSuite's Dunning module is super, super simple. It allows you to define a sequence of emails that will be sent out only, but there's not really anything you can do beyond that. And what I mean by that is it just kind of does its thing. There's no ability to say, well, hang on, there's a problem with these invoices. There's no ability to say, well, hang on, the customer sent us a remittance advice. There's no ability to say, well, hang on, the customer's spoken to us and X, Y, Z. It's very robotic. It just does what it does. But implement the NetSuite Dunning module. The finance team are also talking to the customer, but there's no ability to correlate those communications. You're kind of having real world conversations. NetSuite Dunning module is kind of doing its thing, and it just doesn't line up. It's a really naff customer experience. That's the technical term, at least anyway.
Ian, we're coming to the bottom of the hour now. In terms of follow-up.
Yeah, so in terms of follow-up, I mean, today was a very, very super fast whistle-stop tour. Predominantly, of course, we wanted to look at some of the newer capabilities we've built in. There's every possibility that we haven't answered or shown anywhere near enough for you to understand the true capabilities or how that might work for you. So I would encourage everybody, if you know who they are, to reach out to your account manager if you'd like to continue a conversation and learn a little bit more. There's a QR code on screen that you could use to fill out a form to ask to speak with us to discuss further. But please do, if there's any one part of what you've heard today that's of interest, please get in touch. We would be absolutely ecstatic to hear about your requirements and discuss them further.
Wonderful, thank you. And well, that more or less brings us to the end of our session today. We'd just like to thank you all for your interest and participation today. Some great questions in the Q&A for us to follow up with as well directly. So thank you once again and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. Goodbye.